Welcome to Let's Talk Business Phoenix, the Greater Phoenix Chamber's podcast. I'm your host, Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber. Each week, we tackle key issues affecting businesses, the community, and state, aiming to drive growth and overcome challenges while uniting community leaders to move Phoenix forward.
Let's Talk Business Phoenix was produced in partnership with Ideas Collide, an agency offering a full suite of custom marketing solutions for your brand's unique challenges. Make a connection at ideascollide.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. We are honored today to have the Chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Thomas Galvin. Mr. Chairman, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Well, we always like to start off with getting to know folks maybe in a different way than you'd find on traditional bio. But why don't we kind of learn a little bit about you? You know, give us some sort of the high points, and then something about you that we wouldn't find on a bio that we would find interesting.
Okay. Well, I grew up in New York City.
Okay.
And something people don't know about me is that I'm the son of an immigrant from Honduras. Okay. My mother's from Tegucigalpa, Honduras. And in fact, all of my maternal relatives still live there. I've been to that country many times, and I love it, and I'm very proud of my heritage. But growing up in New York City was quite an experience. I enjoyed it. I actually feel blessed for it. I think a lot of people don't understand how kids can live in the city, but I thrived there. But I came out here to visit nearly 20 years ago, fell in love with Arizona, have been living here ever since. And frankly, the Valley has just given so much to me. And now serving in this role, it's just been a great opportunity and a great honor.
Well, interesting parallels with former Governor Ducey, who did the same thing coming in from Ohio and came, I think, for college and then never left.
That's right. That's right. Booked a one-way ticket. I only knew a handful of people who still mean a great deal to me today. But since then, I've met thousands of folks, and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, and so what was it that brought you out here? What was the
if I could sum up in one word, it's opportunity and potential. Here in Arizona, I think we all are just blessed to live in a beautiful environment, but there's many beautiful places that you can live in that are not as great as living here. The business climate here, the regulatory environment here, frankly, it aligns with my values and my policies and my politics. And I just have enjoyed my career here. And then when there are opportunities to step up in public service, I spent 4 years at the Corporation Commission serving under Brenda Burns, but now serving as an elected official. I just want to see Arizona just continue to thrive and grow and prosper. And there's just so much potential still out there for us. I hate to see us punching below our weight. And so I just want us to maximize our opportunities.
Well, I'm glad you decided to take a chance on public service. More of us should do that, and it's commendable. I don't want to get controversial right off the bat, but I'm going to do it. All right, so where do you get a good New York pizza here?
You know, there's a few places that are good.
Now, we're listening.
Unfortunately, the list is longer of where you cannot go to get a good one, but we'll spare the guilty.
Top 2 or 3.
Bay's Pizza on 32nd Street in Lincoln.
Okay.
We are really big fans of that spot. That's our go-to as a family is Bay's Pizza. I think that
endorsed by the Galvin family.
It's endorsed by the Galvin family, and also Poma Pizza in the Gainey Village is great too.
Okay, well,
those
you
are
heard
2.
It here.
Yeah.
All right, so we got past the controversy.
And I'm a pizza snob. So.
Oh, are you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So water, all that matters.
That matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Well, let's kind of delve into your you mentioned your career, and clearly you've done a lot, varied career, sort of Renaissance man. Talk to us a little about your career, your professional life.
You know, I have worked as a site selection consultant. I have worked in real estate development in commercial real estate projects, and also have worked as a land use attorney at a firm here in the Valley that many people are acquainted with. And I still practice law. I'm a land use attorney. I do zoning work, entitlement work. I represent individual homeowners, and I also represent some of the largest home builders in the country. And one thing that my legal job has afforded me is taking me across the state, not just work here in our community or in the Valley, but throughout the state. And so I have seen firsthand how government regulations can impact businesses, how people go to bed at night worrying about how they're going to write that paycheck out to their employees, and also to see the passions of people who come in with great ideas and want to see them implemented. And for me, what I really enjoy is still being a practicing attorney and being an elected official with 2 jobs, is that I really believe that both roles have sharpened the blade for me in the other role. Being an attorney has made me be a better elected official, and being a public servant has made me be a better attorney.
And so you mentioned commercial real estate in Arizona. I think that was kind of one of the first roles you had here. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was working on a project down in Chandler.
Okay.
This is now 2007, 2008.
Okay. Great recession.
And I remember distinctly driving off the highway, and there was just nothing there, literally nothing except our project. And it's just incredible now when I drive by it, I can't even find our project because now it's a needle in a haystack. And just to see the development and growth that has happened in the Southeast Valley is incredible to see. But also, when you think about it, it basically happened in the blink of an eye. But great success doesn't just happen. It just shows that a lot of forces have to work together in the right way to facilitate growth and development. So that's one of the concerns that I have, is to make sure that we're able to improve upon that in the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Well, and certainly a lot to talk about there, and I want to get back to that as it relates to, for instance, affordable housing. I know there's been a lot of talk about that, not only in Arizona, but around the country. But let's now focus on Maricopa County. I mean, it's interesting going around the country. I can mention Maricopa County, and people don't sort of look at me blankly. They know what that is, and the fact that this is generally one of the fastest growing counties in the country. Maybe kind of paint that picture for us.
Yeah, when I go around the community and I give speeches to folks, I really have to talk about what Maricopa County is. We're the fourth largest county in the country. We're the fastest growing county. The population of Maricopa County exceeds 25 states. The population of my district, since there's 5 of us on the board, exceeds the population of 4 or 5 states. This is a large community. We're almost a state unto itself, but we have to make sure that we are not victims of our success. So for me, when I'm talking to people about what I do as a supervisor, I say, listen, I think about these 8 buckets: economic development, water, transportation, housing, public safety, public health, overseeing elections, and animal care and control. That's actually a very important function that we have. Yeah. So it really encompasses everything that people are involved with, from birth until death. We even do your birth certificate and the death certificate with our medical examiner's office. So at the county, we have to serve in a holistic fashion over the entire valley and make sure that we're doing it the right way. And that's fiscal responsibility and making sure people are safe.
And when we talk about certainly our position nationally, what are our other peer counties that are kind of growing at that same rate?
So I'm always looking at the other big counties.
I figured you
and
were.
I measure us compared to them. So obviously when we're looking at Cook County in Illinois, Los Angeles County, California, Orange County as well, but also Harris County in Texas and Miami-Dade County in Florida. Frankly, the ones in Texas and Florida are the ones that I'm worried about, because they're doing such a great job of attracting businesses. They're doing their own thing in terms of fiscal responsibility. But I think we're the best. And when I look at the top 10 or 12 counties in the country, we're unique in that we're represented. I'm going to be partisan here. We're the Republican majority, 4-1. I think that's really important. When we look at Cook County or Los Angeles County, they're financial basket cases. We're in great financial shape, and that allows the business community to thrive.
And aside from the political aspect you just talked about, what are some of the other things that make us a good bet for businesses coming here?
Well, government should do no harm, right? So it's a light touch in terms of regulatory environment, but that doesn't mean that you allow actors to go willy-nilly, because then people get hurt. But at the same time, government doesn't make jobs. Government doesn't produce jobs, but government should enable the environment for those jobs to occur. So in Maricopa County, we have cut property tax rates 4 years in a row, despite the massive growth that we have seen. Yet at the same time, we're investing in public safety. When people say government should be run like a business, I actually disagree with that, and people get surprised, because we still have to provide services, which includes our sheriff's office and our county attorney's office with the prosecutors. No matter what, we got to go out there and help our folks, Rachel Mitchell and Jerry Sheridan, find the bad guys, arrest them, and put them away. So those are all things where we're providing the services we have to do, but we're doing it in a very efficient way.
Right. You're cutting property taxes.
Yeah.
And so benchmarking against Cook County, and I'm assuming LA County, we're very competitive in that aspect, I'm sure.
Those counties are 2, 3, 4 times on a per dollar basis per resident of how much Maricopa County is spending on tax dollars, which we're very proud of.
So one piece to the housing puzzle that we've got sort of solved here.
That's right. Yeah.
So you mentioned the board, the makeup of the board, and what I think, there is a partisan split there, but there isn't necessarily a partisan split. I think it's important for you to chat about, how do you work as a body? To me, from the outside, it seems like deliberative. you can disagree, but you're deliberative and you tend to work together as opposed to, for instance, Congress, which is not designed that way, the legislature. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I'll be blunt. The reason why I'm attracted to service at the county level is that this is a professional board. We work together in a professional way. We see ourselves as the board of directors of a $4 billion corporation. The county budget is the second largest budget in the state after the state budget. But frankly, when I look at certain cities and especially our state legislature, I just see a lot of partisanship, a lot of bickering, where they stand there with a microphone and they just yell and scream at each other. We don't do that at the county because we're an executive position. It's just that the executive power is diffused through 5 offices. But that means that we have to work together and collaboratively because we have to administer all of these different jobs. We're in 50 different lines of business. So even though we have a partisan split in terms of our politics, we all have one job, which is to oversee Maricopa County, one of the most important counties in the country. And so what I like about this job is that you have to execute. You have to get it done. You don't just go home at night and tell your constituents, well, I yelled at the other guy. No, you have to show and produce results.
But you don't have to necessarily include the other guy, and you do.
We don't, right?
Yeah, and in spite of that, things work, right?
Yeah.
And they work probably better than if you were fighting.
Exactly right. Many people might be tempted to say, well, there's one Democrat on our board, just ignore him or just leave him alone. We don't do that. He is an equal, and we see him as an equal and a partner. And it's important for us to make sure that he has all the resources he needs for his district, but he's also done a tremendous job in working with us in making sure that we're getting our objectives done.
So we see that at the meetings. We see a very, I think, respectful and collegial atmosphere. Take us behind the scenes to when you're meeting and you're looking at some certain policy decisions. Is there that same sort of respect and collegiality and exchange of ideas and perhaps disagreements?
I have a great example for you. So one of the things that I'm known for is standing up to election deniers in our party. And over the last 2 election cycles, I've campaigned and said these elections are not stolen. You may not be happy about how these elections are conducted or the results, but if you want us to do better, we can take a look at that. So this year, I'm undertaking, especially with Supervisor Debbie Lesko's leadership, we're doing a comprehensive review of elections. But our Democratic colleague, Steve Gallardo, we worked with him, and we ended up having a 5-0 unanimous bipartisan vote. And I think that took out a lot of the criticism, like, well, you're going to do an election audit, like what happened with the cyber ninjas in 2021, which brought a lot of negative national attention on the state and Maricopa County. But now people are saying, wow, the entire Board of Supervisors, who are pretty far apart politically, are working together. And I'm very proud of that as chairman, that I was able to see that we had a bipartisan unanimous vote. And we split that comprehensive review into 2 sections. One is how we do our election processes, and 2 is the actual equipment that we use. And we're allowing third-party independent folks come in and take a look. There's no pride in ownership here. We want to know what we can do better, because you should always strive to do better for the 2026 and the 28 elections.
Well, and the fact that you made it transparent and people can come and ask questions on it. There was before the election an invitation to come in and look at all the equipment and the way things were structured, and certainly an important part of that process. And the fact that you brought everyone together to do that is commendable and perhaps a lesson for our friends at the legislature. And,
I think so.
And Congress.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, transportation, clearly with a county that's growing so fast, for the chamber, Prop 479 from last election was a significant milestone and something that we felt had to happen. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of 479 to the county and the fact that you're still growing.
Well, we're really happy that Prop 479 passed, but frankly, I want to salute you, Todd, and your team and all the people that really put work together. It took a team effort for everyone to collaborate and get Prop 479 passed. And frankly, I don't think it passes without the help of groups like the Greater Phoenix Chamber. We were very happy to see it, but nothing is guaranteed. But everyone understood how vitally important it is. It actually became an issue in my own campaign, in my own race, where my primary opponent was campaigning against the so-called tax increase. But I knew that the voters are not stupid. You don't insult the intelligence of voters, and they understood this is a necessary tax to pay for the roads that we already have and to build the new ones that are needed, and it's not a new tax. And we also want to thank MAG because they led the way on Prop 479. They did such a great job. But there's real-world implications. I just was at the grand opening for the Gilbert Road Bridge in my district, which connects Mesa with the Salt River Pima Indian community, which is also in my district. But if you're driving that bridge, that helps you get from Mesa through the Indian Reservation up to Fountain Hills, to North Scottsdale. All these different municipalities and now tribes are involved in this. And when we're at the grand opening, we're all happy and celebrating. And I said, this is a real world example of how that tax, which is not that expensive, does tremendous work for us. And this is allowing people to get back and forth to visit family, but also allow their commerce to get through the county.
Absolutely. I mean, thinking about all the companies that are moving here today because of this interactive environment, if we don't have the infrastructure to support them, our fear was that perhaps they wouldn't stay, or we wouldn't get new companies to come here. So a big win, and I'm sure when you're looking at, for instance, Cook County or LA County, they've got their challenges as it relates to transportation.
They do. And of course, any company or company that's looking at us, if they're talking to other states, they're going to say, hey, Maricopa County couldn't get it done with the roads. Can you imagine? That would have been a death knell for us.
Absolutely. I want to switch gears a little bit as well to crime. You mentioned our county attorney and our sheriff. What new initiatives are you all looking at as a board to address some of the crime-related, violent crime issues in our community?
So public safety, by far, budget-wise, is the biggest piece of our budget. It's 50% of our budget. So this means that we have to provide funding for our deputies, detention officers in the jails, the dispatch operators, our prosecutors, and folks in the court. So out of a $4 billion budget, $2 billion is dedicated to public safety. So even though we're talking a good game about cutting property tax rates and being efficient, at the same time, we can't hurt public safety efforts. So we go with the sheriff and we go with the county attorney. They're elected by the people. That's another unique aspect about county government. And we say to them, what are the resources that you need? And I've now been part of 4 or 5 budget discussions every year. Those are important discussions and takes place over 6 months. One of the things that Rachel Mitchell did was work with the board to create this organized retail theft crime task force, where she's working with Target, CVS, Walgreens, and saying, what do you guys need so we can stop the shoplifters? Because what's happening here, we're not going to tolerate it like what's happening in California. And Rachel has a great line. She says, if you come here to steal, congratulations, you're going to stay, right? So, and then with Sheriff Sheridan, I'm very concerned about our department because it's under federal oversight. And it's been so for the last 15 years. I have seen attrition at the department. I have seen it's very difficult for them to recruit. And we can talk about this later, but we have to be more aggressive in rescuing and saving this organization, which I really fear for.
Well, and I hear you when you talk about some of these other communities. I know we've heard from my colleagues, for instance, in Portland or Seattle and in California, where organized retail theft is a significant problem, and it's not a bunch of kids going in and taking stuff from some shelves. This is organized retail crime.
These are organized networks, multi-state, multinational, and every single time her great office prosecutes these folks, they learn more. The other thing we're dealing with is fentanyl. We have about 6 overdose deaths a day in Maricopa County, unfortunately. Medical examiner's office gives us updated reports. About 3.5 of those 6 deaths is due to fentanyl. This is a big problem. So if people go to our website, maricopa.gov/fentanyl, they'll see that we have a program called Focus on Fentanyl. We're addressing education with kids. We are literally handing out Narcan kits to high school kids. And what we're telling kids is if one of your friends is having an episode, you can save their life. And what we're trying to see is we're trying to bend the curve of this. And unfortunately, kids are very sophisticated these days, and they get it, they understand it. They're taking those kits, and we're getting good reports back about how they're applying it effectively and saving their friends. And we're educating parents and just letting them know just a little bit of fentanyl can kill your child. We have a video where a woman's having dinner with her son in her house. Her son said, Mom, I'm going to go to my bedroom. I'm going to come right back. Never left his bedroom. He took a little pill. It had some fentanyl in it. And she lost her son literally under her nose. And now she's working with us and Rachel Mitchell to fight this. It's just a scourge in our community. It's striking down people in their prime.
Terrible. Are we seeing the numbers come down in the community?
We are, but they're still unacceptably high. And that is just not good for the board, not good for the sheriff, and not good for the county attorney. We're all united on this. We're going to keep fighting.
No, and it's such an important fight. And I think to your point earlier, I don't think that kid probably knew that was in there.
No, he thought he was taking something else, and he had no idea it was in there. Yeah.
So on the subject of law enforcement, jail tax is currently up for extension. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, SB 1144. Just like Prop 479, Maricopa County cannot determine its own destiny. So if we want to see a continuation of the jail tax, which literally houses our inmates, this tax will need to be approved by voters sometime next year. And just like Prop 479, we need it to get passed by the legislature and the governor. And of course, just like Prop 479, it's not an easy exercise. Some people might think, oh, a jail tax, it's a slam dunk. It's not. So what the board did last year was appoint a public safety experts committee, and we all appointed folks who worked together, and they came up with a plan that we can have for the jail tax for the next 20 years. It was a great committee put together by 5 members of the board, the county attorney, the sheriff, and also members of the courts. And they worked together and said, well, what are the needs for incarceration over the next 20, 30, 40 years? And one of the big issues that we've seen crop up is mental health. And so we really like to help address that. There's a lot of mental health issues coming up, and everyone in the law enforcement community recognizes this. This is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue that kind of gets dismissed by half. Everyone is involved with this. And so now it passed through the Senate. I think it got out of House rules today. So we're very happy about that, and we're optimistic. And I'm really proud of our government relations team for working with our leadership. I also want to thank Senate President Warren Peterson, House Speaker Montenegro. They both understand the urgency and the importance of this. And also the governor's office has been quite receptive. So SB 1144 for us, this jail tax, is the #1 legislative priority for Maricopa County.
I know the chamber's been supportive as well,
Yes.
and many other business organizations and community organizations as well. They see the need, and glad to see that progress.
Right, thank you.
So going back to the sheriff's office, you wanted to delve into that a little bit more. Kind of give us some color on the challenges there,
Yes,
and
so
what we might want to do.
So under previous Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Maricopa County got sued. The sheriff's office got sued. And without getting into the weeds too much, they lost the lawsuit. But this was 15 years ago in 2007. And there's now a federal judge who has oversight over the sheriff's office. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, we control the purse strings for every department in the county. But frankly, we don't have control over the sheriff's office because the judge dictates how much money is spent on compliance matters. And even though the policies that were implemented under that sheriff, even though that sheriff himself is gone.
Correct.
And was actually booted out of office by the voters. And then that person who beat him was then reelected by the voters. And now we've gone to our 4th sheriff. That agency is still under the oversight of a federal judge. I just think that's wrong. A lot of people are like, well, there's nothing you can really do about it. It's not like the other situation where Phoenix might come under a consent decree with DOJ. That's an Article 2 issue. This is Article 3 with the judicial branch. And so I said, I don't accept it when someone says you can't do anything about it. So we've hired a constitutional law attorney, and we're going to pursue this. The board is, not the sheriff, but the board is going to pursue our legal rights to see if we can get out of this, because we have had to spend $300 million over the last 15 years. We have found it very hard to recruit people to join this office. We have found it very hard to keep people beyond their retirement date. I don't blame them. And then we've really hard to hire detention officers. Our vacancy rate in our dispatchers is about 50%. Vacancy rate with detention officers is 40%, and vacancy rate with sheriff deputies is about 15%. Every single time they do a traffic stop, they have to fill out paperwork back at the office. It has really prevented them from doing it.
Just a speeding ticket, for instance.
Exactly. And no one would ever argue that this sheriff or the previous 2 sheriffs are implementing any racial discriminatory policies. We all abhor it. None of us want that, but that just doesn't happen anymore. So this lawsuit has morphed into 2 or 3 or 4 different orders, wholly unrelated to that initial reason for the lawsuit. And so the sheriff currently has one hand tied behind his back, but he's doing everything he can to comply with the judge's orders. We think there's another path.
Well, is there any precedent for this around the country for this kind of oversight for this period of time?
I don't think so, but I also know that this judge has appointed a federal monitor to oversee the department and report back to him. This federal monitor actually does this with other police agencies around the country, but I'm not too familiar with them. But the cities I've been told include Louisville, Baltimore, and Oakland. The monitor doesn't even live here in Arizona. He lives in Oakland. He doesn't come here that often, but we have to pay for his office space, computers, printers, paper, all this stuff. You're paying for it. Everyone here watching it is paying for it. Maricopa County taxpayers are paying for this. And this is what I tell folks when I go out in the community, and they're just shocked. And the question I kept hearing over and over, what can you do about it? What can you do about it? And I think we have a path here. Either way, it's unsustainable, and we need to address it.
More to come.
More to come.
Okay. Well, speaking of things that you probably can influence, and we touched on this a little bit, housing.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're still in a quote-unquote affordable space compared to some of our peers, but it's certainly something that people are thinking about and talking about. What role, if any, does the county play in the affordability of housing?
I think we have a big role to play, and we're going to enter this space and really make noise about it. I have seen over the last few years, we all have, that yes, we can grow as fast as we want and we can attract people, but at some point there's going to be market pressures. And at some point we have seen that the availability just hasn't met the demand. And I've seen this in my own district, and I've seen it while I was campaigning. People said to me, hey, my grandson just graduated college, cannot find a place to buy a house, has his first job. There's a kid in the way. They're unable to do it. I've met with couples who said, we were renting an apartment, saving up with a nest egg, and we wanted to put a down payment, and we got outbid, and now the rent in our apartment has gone up, and now we're going to have to spend the money that we saved for that down payment. And so I took a look at what the county can do, because frankly, I was disappointed that there's just been no action and no progress at the state level. And I've also seen some resistance at the city level. So I sat with our team and I said, well, what can we do? So what we're doing is we're completely stripping down our zoning ordinance. We're just starting from scratch. This is unprecedented. One of the things that our team saw, that we have a use in our zoning code for a tinsmith. I don't even know what a tinsmith does. I can imagine. Yeah. But these are the kind of things that it just shows how outdated our zoning code is. So we're also going to remove any regulatory red tape that is not addressing public safety. Anything that can prevent someone from getting in and say, we're going to build housing here, we're taking it out. And the other thing we're going to do is do smaller lot sizes. But it's also important to make sure we're doing it in a reasonable way, because I completely understand that if you live in a single-family residential community, it doesn't make sense if a multifamily complex is just plopped down in the middle of it. So we're going to do it with land use policies that make sense, but with the goal of facilitating development and making sure that governmental regulatory burdens are not in the way. And as I said in my chairman's speech in January, while the state is in action, we're going to be a county of action. And by the end of the year, you're going to see some major news about our housing reforms that I think will be hugely effective and determinative here in the county.
Well, more to look forward to, and certainly when you talk about lot sizes, and of course, thinking about it rationally, to your point, you can't just mix these and expect it all to work out, but be thoughtful and intentional about it, really could start to solve some of these issues and give people opportunity. So I want to kind of expand out to the international scene, if you will, given that we are the fastest growing county in the country. I'm assuming what happens internationally has an impact on us. Recently, we engaged in a tariff war, which seems to be impacting everything. What do you see the impacts for Maricopa County if this tariff war continues, this trade war continues?
Well, we're all proud that we have some of these major technology companies moving here, and number one is TSMC. We want to make sure that these tariffs or any, I would say, economic policies at the federal level are not impacting us on the local level. At the same time, Arizona, we like to say we're wide open. We're open for business. Come here. I would hate to see international companies think twice about doing that. And at the same time, we have local companies here that are dependent on these industries, and we're hoping to serve these industries. What I tell folks here, when TSMC comes, it's not just TSMC. It's all the secondary and tertiary effects on the community. And I know this as a former site selection consultant
your former
who
life.
worked on this. Yes, exactly. I'm an economic development advocate. And so these are suppliers, but this also means retail. This also means home builders. It's just all connected. And when I talk about those 8 different buckets before that I talk about at the county, they're not silos. They're all connected. And so we have to make sure that we're going to tell our partners that we're recruiting here that they're going to be okay. But hopefully that's the case.
Okay. So as we kind of wrap things up, what's your vision? Where do you want to see the county in 5 to 10 years?
I want to see the county keep continuing its policy of fiscal responsibility and ensuring safety. And that was the theme of my speech as chairman in January, promoting prosperity and ensuring safety. But one of the things we're doing, Maricopa County never had an economic development office. So we created one in January, and I'm very excited that we're going to be opening that up very soon. And I want to help see that Maricopa County becomes the hub of a spoke where we can talk to different organizations like yours and other organizations in a similar space, but also collaborate with the cities collaborate with other counties, collaborate with state agencies, and make sure that we're doing everything we can to help in the economic development space, because we are an overlay over the entire county. And so fiscal responsibility and public safety, those are the two themes. And as I'm going to continue working here for the next 4 years with my colleagues, we all share that vision, and we want to keep doing it.
Okay. Well, obviously, a lot of people are talking about your name's clearly out there as a rising star in our community. What could be next for you in terms of public office?
I love this job. I'm in the right space right now. And I also love my other job as an attorney here, and I love that job as well. I love working with clients, because being an attorney, especially in the type of attorney work that I do, you're helping people solve their problems. And for me, I just got elected for a 4-year term at the county. There's so much I want to do here. Every single day is a challenge, and I want to keep doing that.
Well, there is a lot to do, and we're glad you're rolling up your sleeves along with your colleagues and getting it done and showing the rest of the country how to do it in a way that makes some sense. Mm-hmm. Well, let's do a little quick lightning round with you, and we'll start. I think we're probably gonna have to go back to New York. What was your first job?
Great story. Actually working on Rudy Giuliani's successful mayoral campaign as a senior in high school. That was the most amazing and formative experience of my life.
Well, tell us about it.
And it was great. I was a senior in high school. All of my friends and I were really sick and tired of the high crime and just the way that city was going. And I told my dad, and my dad said to me, "We'll do something about it." So one day after school, I walked into Rudy's office, and first thing they had me did was just folding envelopes. Folding letters and putting them in envelopes. And they're like, "All right, this kid can do that," right?
You qualify.
Answer the phones. I started answering the phones. And then they said, "What are you doing this summer before you go to college?" And I'm like, "I'm not sure." And they said, "You want to come work for us?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I was with the campaign full-time that entire summer, traveling with Rudy throughout the city. And it's the best campaign I've ever seen, because in a city that's 5-1 Democrat, he had to forge coalitions and listen to constituents about the issues that mattered. And he forged a winning ticket to get that job done, which is not easy. And it was a great learning experience, because that campaign team was top notch.
That's a great one. So what was the one thing that you took away from that perhaps you still think about today?
Well, the funny thing is, when I accepted the job, I didn't ask about pay. So they said, "You're working for free." So that's the number one, is get that done up front.
Sure, your family would appreciate that.
Exactly. But secondly was listen to people, and then do what you say you're going to do. And say what you will about Rudy Giuliani today, but in my lifetime, he is the best executive that we've had in America. And when he became mayor, I would come back on fall break, winter break, and spring break, and I could literally see the city changing every 3 or 4 months. And I would tell my mother, I would say, "Wow, the city's changing." And she goes, "It's because of Rudy." And what he did was he addressed all of the issues and problems that he identified that people asked him to help him on. That was crime, improving pay with police, making sure the streets were cleaned, and making sure the criminals were taken off the subways. And he did it. And then what happened? The business came. And then college students started coming. And then young people started coming. And if you look at New York City from 1993 to 1999, 2000, it's a world of difference. And it's a lesson I still carry with me to this day.
Well, clearly it's in practice.
Yes.
And of course, we can't forget about September 11th and his role.
Absolutely.
And that was absolutely tremendous. Okay, we'll get a little less serious then and go to a first concert.
The Gin Blossoms.
Oh, really?
At a college venue in Worcester, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that was great.
The drummer for the Gin Blossoms, Phil Rhodes, at the time, used to work for me.
Oh, really?
When I ran a barbecue place in Tempe. So, all right. So we're connected.
Nice.
Very good. Yeah. Gin Blossoms. Favorite song?
Allison Road.
Oh, very good. All right. What's your pet peeve?
I have a lot. Yeah, I have a lot.
What's the main one?
The main one is when you're waiting for a parking space and the person in the car is still on their phone and they don't get out. That one will make me lean on my horn if I have to. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, my final question for you would be, in my role leading the chamber, what piece of advice do you have for me?
I don't have any advice for you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I just really appreciate your leadership. Every single time there's a major issue here in the Valley, I see that you're involved, your organization is involved. The one thing I do ask of anyone watching is I would love to see members of the business community more engaged in public civic matters. A lot of times I do meet with folks, and not your members, but other folks who work in business, and I understand it's busy, but I really want them to understand how important local government is. how important it is to pay attention to your mayor, your council, state legislature, and even county government. Hold us accountable, but know what we're up to. Unfortunately, these are crazy times in Washington, and I do believe that national matters get a lot of attention at the expense of local issues. And look at all the stuff that we talked about with housing, public safety, the jail tax, Prop 479. I just hope, and I know you guys will continue educating folks about it, but that is so vitally important for members here who are in our commerce to understand what's happening locally with our government.
Well, thank you. And you set that example. I mean, you're a member of the business community that obviously you had a day job, and you still decided to serve the public. So thank you for setting that example, and thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for watching this episode of Let's Talk Business Phoenix. Please take a moment to tap the follow or subscribe button for more great podcast episodes to help your business thrive.